Hello, this is Reddithin, and welcome to TBU Season 5, Week 4 against RTK and the Portland Timburrs. So, this week we are trying to go 4-0, which would be amazing, because I don't think... Yeah, no, I've never gone 4-0 in a league before, so that would actually be really, really cool. So, hopefully that's what happens here. So, anyway, let's go into the team without further ado. Sorry, Rizzy Pow, this shiny bag on. I'm gonna have to take the spotlight off to you for a bit, but anyway. So, first off, we had Adamant Scizor with Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Roost, and Swords Dance. Just looking at RTK's team, I was really kind of afraid of a lot of his faster threats. The Zygarde 50 was really spooky. The Aerodactyl was pretty spooky. The Electivire even could have been pretty spooky. The Articuno, of course, I had like not really much to switch into like a freeze dry. So really, also can't forget about the Mean Chow and the Silvally, which I figured would be like a Silvally Fairy. I cannot speak. So this thing just seemed like it'd be pretty good to rip holes through his team. I can switch in on stuff such as the Feeny, because I can't get scald burned or anything because of Misty Terrain. I can switch in the Articuno at least once if it doesn't have the HP Fire. If it does have the HP Fire, because I got the Oka Berry. I can switch it on the Silvally. So yeah, the Oka Berry just kind of let me switch into like a lot of like possibly random HP Fires, and then I can just set up and do so much damage to him. Or if not, I can just U-turn out. I mainly had this thing for the Umbreon, so I could come in and then scare it out, and I can gain momentum with U-turn and all that fun stuff. As well as breaking down the Aerodactyl, which could be a potential issue looking at what I have. But so yeah, this was kind of like my main pivot. Really, I just felt this thing had a good matchup. Really, the only thing that really scared this thing specifically was was mainly the Darmanitan, but I did have the Alomomola for that, and I'll get into my EVs and Alomomola later. But yeah, this thing had just enough. Actually, I don't think this thing actually had any speed. Yeah, I don't believe I think I put like 12 just in case the Umbreon tries to speed creep. But yeah, and then I just got the Swords Dance on there because it lets me beat Tapu Fini and stuff a lot easier. So yeah. Next up is the Nidoqueen with Sludge Wave, Ice Beam, Toxic Spikes, and the Stealth Rock. I had a strategy going with this. I'll get into that with the Alomomola in just a minute. However, this thing was meant to outspeed the Tapu Fini because we do not want to be taking a water move, and we want to be able to do as much as we can with Sludge Wave. So basically, this thing was kind of like my lead if all things went well, because the Sludge Wave hits the Feeny, and it means two moves hit pretty much everything. Like Sludge Wave, the only thing Sludge Wave hits not very effective is the Zygarde and the Aerodactyl, but both just drop to an Ice Beam. So that's really all I needed as far as coverage goes. And then we got the Toxic Spikes and the Stealth Rock. The Stealth Rock's pretty obvious because he's got a Darmanitan, and he has an Aerodactyl, and he has an Articuno, and all those things do not like rocks. And with his only remover being Tapu Fini, I thought I was going to take advantage of that, and that's actually why I put the Toxic Spikes on there. For one, not only do Toxic Spikes really help against stuff like the Zygarde and everything, because and the Silvally, because we really want Lop to come in and be able to clean up late, because that's kind of what Lop's good at in my team, and it's what it's kind of been in the role like so far for that. But with the Toxic Spikes, that actually allows me to play around with that Feeny in the form of Alomomola. With his actually Whirlpool knockoff Wish and Protect. I know, we are getting very creative with Alomomola. We have Whirlpool. Wow. I know. But yeah, basically the idea behind that Nidoqueen set is that there was no way he was going to want to switch in Tapu Fini on that thing because I have Sludge Wave. And so pretty much that Tapu Fini was guaranteed to be poisoned, because I was going to just set up my my Toxic Spikes first turn pretty much, and then once that Feeny comes in to defog it, I can bring in my Alomomola, I can trap it, and then, or Actually, which is even more likely, the Tapu Fini comes in on the Alomola, because normally, like, a stall-breaking Feeny would just absolutely destroy an Alomola, like, there's nothing that it can really do back. However, in this case, with it switching in on the Toxic Spikes before the Misty Terrain is up, it would be poisoned, and being able to Whirlpool it as it tries to defog or taunt would just trap it in and eventually kill it once I knock off its leftovers between the poison and the Whirlpool damage. And with this EV spread, it's able to just easily take anything the Alomola wants to throw at me. Even if it's a Calm Mindset, it's still going to die anyway with the Whirlpool and the poison racking up. So, yeah. And then I actually just put enough HP and Fizz Def to live a Wild Charge from, or 2 Wild Charges from the Darmanitan. And actually, funny thing is, this is actually the same exact EV spread as I ran last week. It just happened to be like the same for all like the rolls and stuff. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, so if this strategy was to work out, then he would lose his Feeny, which would be really nice, because then as long as I can keep Nidoqueen healthy, then I can come in later and set up my hazards, and that'd be really, really nice, because having everything on his team either poisoned and taking rocks damage is really cool. So yeah, and he also loses a huge check to my Lop, a huge check to my Scizor, a huge check to my Grandal, and like Feeny is really, really strong against my team. So if I was able to trap that, it'd be really, really good for me. So yeah, next up we have Waphoni with Return, Ice Punch, Drain Punch, and Healing Wish. This was Jolly, which with just enough speed to outspeed max speed Aerodactyl. And I got the Return and the Ice Punch are pretty self-explanatory. Of course, Return hits the Feeny as hard as it can. And then I just got the Ice Punch on there because it hits the Aerodactyl super effectively, of course, because it resists Return. It hits the Zygarde for quad damage, which is really, really good, because of course, if Zygarde sets up, like, I'm kind of in trouble, because Zygarde is such a huge threat in like almost like any matchup. So being able to do as much damage as that is really possible, so I can revenge it later with my 2 priority users and Dragonite and Scizor. And lastly, I just got the Drain Pitch and the Healing Wish. I decided not to put the High Jump Kick just because with the Umbreon, clicking High Jump Kick is really, really risky, because of course it could just protect, and that would be a really bad time. And I really just didn't need High Jump Kick in general. I knew the Silvally was going to be either Fairy or Psychic, most likely Fairy, so it wouldn't be able to do much of that. Like the Hypno, Return would still do the most. The Mean Shot and Electivire. The Electivire, both of them possibly could live a Return. However, I was not really afraid of them anyway, because Grandal just hard walls Mean Shao, and Electivire is, I think, actually does die to Return. If not like from full after rocks, like for sure. So High Jump Kick just didn't really seem all that necessary to me, and I'd much rather have the Healing Wish, just because I have a Nidoqueen without recovery, I have a Grandal without reliable recovery, and I have a Dragonite without reliable recovery. So perhaps like a last-ditch effort to get those to kind of come in clutch late would be really, really nice, and I felt it was more important than just having the HJK on there. And the next is Grandal with Fizz Def, with Play Rough, Earthquake, Super Fang, and Roar. This EVs was pretty much just maximally physically defensive, and then I had 20 in Spidef, I believe, just so I could guarantee take 2 uninvested Sludge Waves from a Zygarde. And then, like, this is pretty self-explanatory. Like, Play Rough and Earthquake actually hits his entire team. Like, he has nothing to resist both of those. Then it's got the Super Fang because it'll wear down the Feeny if it tries to switch in. That's mainly it. The Feeny or the Silvally, like, those are kind of his 2 Fizz Def walls that I expected to deal with Lop. And neither of those are going to want to take a Super Fang, because then they no longer switch into Lop. So, and I really just had nothing better to put on there. T-Wave didn't really seem that useful, because he had a Zygarde, he had Electivire, and he had Misty Terrain. So, Heal Bell just didn't seem that interesting, because like I said, he also has Misty Terrain, so he's probably not going to get Status Me at all. Yeah, there are really just no better moves I felt would be necessary. Even Wild Charge just doesn't do that much to Feeny, so... yeah, and then it's got Roar, because he's got some stuff that can potentially set up. He's got the Feeny, which could potentially Calm Mind. He's got the Silvally, which can set up Swords Dances. He's got the Mean Show, I believe, can set up. The Hypno can Baton Pass boost. Of course, we got the Zygarde that can D-Dance. Just raw, like having a phase move is really nice, especially if I'm able to get my hazards up. And then finally is Dragonite with the Flying EMZ with Dragon Dance, Ice Punch, E-Speed, and Fly. Really, if you look at his team, he has literally 0 for a +1 Supersonic Sky Strike. Like literally everything dies. The Feeny can live, but once I weaken it enough, hopefully with like the Toxic Spikes and everything, it's gonna die anyway. So yeah, he actually just had nothing for that. The rest of the moves are just kind of filler. I just really wanted this thing because I knew it would almost guaranteed be able to pick up a kill. But the E-Speed's really nice for, of course, like the Darm and everything that could potentially like try to clean up late or something, or like the Mean Show or whatever. And then just got the Ice Punch over the Dragon Claw because it does more to the Zygarde. Hits the arrow super effectively, which of course which resists flying. That's kind of it. Yeah, like I said, pretty much my game plan strategy is to trap the Feeny and then pretty much try to win with either Scizor, Lop, or Dragonite because all had a really good chance to sweep in this game. So yeah, that's it for the team. I will see you in the battle, and yeah, I'll see you in just a second. Alright, so looking at his team, I was actually really surprised to see the Hypno. Everything else I more or less expected. Like, yeah, literally the Silvally, the Feeny, the Zygarde, the Electivire, and the Arrow. I figured they were all coming because those all had a decent matchup. But the Hypno I was kind of surprised with. I didn't know what it was there for, what it was going to do. Possibly just being another Lop check, or like possibly being something else. I had no idea. But I was definitely more expecting the Darm, the Articuno, or the Mean Show to come, or even like the Umbreon. But the first three are more likely because they definitely can rip through my team if I'm not careful. But yeah, so we decided to bring the Hypno. So interesting to see what he's gonna do. But yeah, more or less what I expected. So I'm actually just gonna lead off with the Nidoqueen. If he decides to lead off with literally anything, I have the Shuka Berry, so I can pretty much live like anything that he wants to throw at me with this team. And so yeah, it just really was a good lead overall. If he doesn't lead with the Feeny, then I get my T-Spikes up and I can set my strategy in motion. So that's kind of it. So you go into it. So he is going to lead off with the Silvally Fairy, as I'm going to lead off with the Nidoqueen. I thought I'd just get my speed, my Toxic Spikes up because like that's really my play. I just want to get the Feeny poisoned as soon as I can. So I'm going to do that and actually outspeed. Surprisingly, revealing this thing had 0 speed investment, which I wasn't even like, I guess it was like a minus speed nature, as he decides to stay in and actually goes for the Ice Beam, and I get crit, and I get frozen. So, great start. So I have to switch out here because I do not want to lose my Nidoqueen early. And I'm going to go into my Scizor, as I figured he wasn't going to predict this early, as he just goes for the Toxic, actually, predicting the Alomola, I guess. So here I'm just going to go for the Bullet Punch. I figured this thing probably is a Flamethrower, but getting damage off on this thing is really nice anyway. So this thing is no longer a Megalop switch-in, which is really nice. And so yeah, I'm going to take the Flamethrower damage here. The Oka Berry is going to let me eat that up, but I'm not going to want to stay in here again, so I'm going to go in the Alomola. As he actually goes into the Feeny. So really good for me here, because the Feeny is poisoned, and now switching into my Alomola, my strategy is pretty much in motion right here, as long as I don't miss a Whirlpool, because this thing's either going to have to Taunt or Defog here, as he does decide to Taunt, and which is playing right into my hands here, because now I can just easily go for the Whirlpool. I do not miss, and now this Feeny is dead in a few turns, so that's really nice. So he's going to get his leftovers, which I really don't care, because they're going to be knocked off next turn as he takes his poison damage. And the Whirlpool damage, this might actually take a while, I apologize, but hey, at least Whirlpool looks cool. So he's going to Defog here, get rid of the Toxic Spikes, but even still, Nidoqueen, even like if it's frozen now, it's already pretty much done its job by poisoning this thing. And we're going to knock off the leftovers, so now this Feeny is as good as dead at this point, as he takes more poison, more Whirlpool, and this is just actually going to go on for a while, so I guess I can, well, Okay, he's gonna go for the Moonblast. I was about to go into like some tangent, but let's not go there just yet. So I click off knockoff again, just getting as much damage as possible, as this poison and the whirlpool damage is going to continue to rack up on this Feeny, and it is going to die next turn. So here my taunt wears off, so I decided to go for the wish here. I figured if he decides to taunt, like I could have gone to protect and like not get taunted there, but I knew that Electivire was probably his what he's gonna switch in next anyway. So even if I go for protect, I won't be able to go for it again to scout for a move, which is what I would use protect for anyway. So wish was just the play either way because I'd have to switch out next turn if I clicked protect anyway. So Electivire comes in. I'm actually just going to go into my Nidoqueen. Hopefully he goes for electric move and I can bait the ice move going into something else, but he just predicts that and goes for the psychic. So poor Nidoqueen. It would have been nice to keep it around a bit longer. The crit freeze really sucked, otherwise I'd be able to save it. But now I do have a free switch into Dragonite, and I can set up an SD. Like an Ice Punch will not kill through multiscale at all. So I do set up the Dragonance, and judging by the Bullet Punch damage, I figured this was actually Spidef. So I could have gone for the fly here, and it would have killed. But I misclick. It's just I should not use the touchscreen. The touchscreen is unreliable. The flying move looks like the ice move. Mistakes were made, but so my multiscale is going to be broken here. However, I do get to click fly here again, and this Silvally is going to go down. But that would have been really nice if I had my multiscale still. But anyway, he's going to go into his arrow, and this thing actually is a guaranteed Oko with Ice Punch. So that's exactly what I'm going to click. However, this thing reveals that it is the Focus Sash, so yep, I'm just going to lose my Dragonite here as he goes for the Rock Slide. Had I not made that misclick, this Dragonite possibly could have just won, because Supersonic Sky Strike was an Oko on Electivire, but you know, what you gonna do? So crit freeze and a misclick already. We're doing great. So he's gonna switch out into his Hypno, revealing this thing is actually Fizdef, as we're going to see in a minute after this Mega Evolves that the return does not 2-hit KO this thing. So there's a pretty mega animation. So yeah, this Hypno is going to eat up this return, and of course I do not want this thing clicking T-Wave or Psychic or anything, so I'm just going to switch out into my Alomomola because this thing can't really do a thing to Alomomola. He goes for the Psychic. If he was happened to be a Calm Mind set, I would have just gone into my Scizor immediately, but so here I'm actually just gonna knock off as he reveals he has a Z move, and at this point I was like, oh my god, am I gonna lose my Alomomola here? Like I have no idea what this thing gets. But it turns out to actually just be Z Switcheroo, so he gets the speed boost here. So I was like, interesting. Like Alomomola can still take anything with this thing, so I'm not too afraid. So I'm actually just going to click the Wish here because I don't know what this thing is going to go for. As the Baton passes actually into the Electivire, and I was like, oh shit, because I lost my Electric Resist. So this happens to be like Specs or something, then I could be in trouble. But my Calcutta and my Grandal with a Wish could actually take 2 Specs T-Bolts if that's what it is. So I'm going to switch into my Grandal here, as I do get the Intimidate, which doesn't really matter because this thing is special, clearly, as he goes for the Thunderbolt. And that does a ton because he gets a crit! You know, who saw that one coming? Anyway, but I can still take 2 anyway, so I'm just free to stay in an Earthquake because it won't Oko, however, it will put it into a range to where I can revenge it with a Bullet Punch from a Scizor. So I'm going to just do that as, judging by the damage, I figured this thing was Expert Belt. So, because it didn't reveal like any sort of like Life Orb or anything, and that was definitely not Specs damage. But unfortunately, I have to switch out here, and I'm actually going to decide to sack off my Alomomola. I figured Grandal was more important at this point because he still has the Arrow and the Zygarde. The Zygarde, of course, can just set up on this Alomomola set, so I really figured that letting this thing go down would actually be better for me in the end. And then Grandal can take care of the Arrow and the Zygarde if I need to. So Alomola's going to drop. I'm going to bring in my Scizor because Bullet Punch is guaranteed to kill from this range. However, he decides to switch out and he sacks actually his Aerodactyl, which is the smart play because Lop and Scizor both easily deal with this thing. And even the Grandal, it's not able to do much to it since it's not the Z move. So Aerodactyl's going to drop. And now he switches in the Zygarde, and I knew this thing could have HP Fire. However, I decided to just go for the U-turn anyway, because getting the damage off is really, really crucial because it lets Ice Punch or Play Rough kill. So he's going to D-Dance up there as I get the U-turn, and since I'm max attack, that is actually going to do a ton to this thing. So now I'm going to go into my Grandal and click Play Rough. Either it kills or it knocks into a range where Bullet Punch can kill. But I do get the Intimidate, which is really important, because now this thing is not going to be doing nearly as much damage. So he has to click 1,000 Arrows here or Sledge Wave. Also, the Leftovers Recovery, if he had Sledge Wave, was really, really nice because it allowed me to probably live that. But he goes for 1,000 Arrows and I missed the Play Rough. Oh, I love this game of Pokemon. So yeah, I pretty much just had a hope at this point. This thing did not have Superpower. I believe Lop could possibly live, but definitely was not something I wanted to risk. So here I just have to hope this thing doesn't have the Superpower, and I'm going to have to click Ice Punch. As he reveals, he doesn't, and he just goes for the 1,000 Arrows, and that does barely half. So really not much of a threat. The Intimidate definitely helped a lot there. So that's just going to drop to an Ice Punch, thankfully. That might have been a roll. I don't remember. It depends on its spread. I'm not really sure exactly what it was, but so here I'm just free to go for the return, and Lop is just going to clean up this game because that's what Lop does, and thankfully this game didn't end up being a complete disaster. So yeah, we're just gonna take the 2-0. Probably if he didn't get all that hacks, it could have been a much different game. Not really much different, but a lot better in my favor. Like the crit freeze in the beginning really hurt me because I would have been able to do so much more to my to that Silvally. I wouldn't have to take all that unnecessary damage on Scizor and everything. The miss with Play Rough, I didn't really think it changed too much of the result. I probably could have saved one differential had I played around that, but yeah, that was mainly it. And the misclick, which was totally my fault, but still unfortunate because there was a chance that Dragonite actually just could have swept there, and I think it probably would have actually because everything else just died to it. But you know, what you gonna do? A win is a win. After last week, we do not deserve to be undefeated anyway. But yeah, I will certainly take it. We are 4-0 now. Lop putting in all the work yet again. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or leave a comment. All the support is really nice and makes me warm and fuzzy inside. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and goodbye.